Hello again, everybody. Welcome back in. We are continuing our climb here in the Tower of Deception, and we finally got here to stage 15. Now I'm going to show you a run that I did to meet the conditions here to do this at the 3-star level to make sure that we were able to get the max rewards. Before we go into the actual run that I did, and I'm going to also introduce to you the lineup that I used. But you can tell here that number one, they're going to suggest that you bring piercing damage alongside with magic damage. There's a mix of both in the waves. And not only that, you're also going to need dispellers because you are going to get the sticks of poison being applied to you. And if they reach 5, that's when they do the most damage. So you want to make sure that that does not happen, that you clean them out so you can continue on with the battle. So that's exactly what is being suggested here. Of course, Artemis has anti-healing, so that actually helps in terms of combating when the boss sends his healing spell and starts healing everybody on the field. So you'll notice that when we start getting into the battle. All right, so here it is. Here is the layout for the stage here for boss 15. And so essentially what's going to happen is we're going to have all these little waves that are coming from here. We're going to have some shamans coming from this spawn point, which is the healer, right? So he's going to be healing the units. And then the boss, Elowen, is going to come out from here. And if she got cores, then tracks 2 to try to get to the core. But at the same time, she's going to then be able to heal anybody that is around her, or when she casts her healing touch, and then you'll see this, it starts healing people. So essentially what it is you're gonna have to do a lot of damage before that extra healing happens, and try to get around that. All right. And the shamans, I think it was the shamans that do need a little bit, you need to bring in piercing damage to make sure that you bring this down. Something that I realized a little bit too late, but you'll see it on the run. Eventually we're able to clean it out. We just have to make sure that we can get him out of the way so he doesn't heal everybody around him. And then pretty much the waves. The waves here can be either cleared with AoE mages if you want to do that, or you can bring physical damage dealers that have the long extension. So Valkyra was one. I know for these fellows here, let me see here, these guys here, the poison mages that are coming here, if you wanted to use somebody like Lubu or Dia, you can definitely place him here and try to put a tank here to protect him, and just try to track this too, right? And just eliminate him here at this point. So I'll go through all of that. There's certainly, if you have your legendaries, use them. You'll see the roster that I use. Unless you want headaches, I would not recommend it, because as you're gonna see, it was a very long run based on how I was able to position everything and make sure that my heroes didn't die and there was no stacks of poison being applied to them, and trying to cleanse all of that off. So that would be kind of my advice in terms of setting this up. When you look at how the waves are coming out, okay, from my run, try to then put a roster together as to how then you would battle it with the roster that you have. If you use your legendaries, use your legendaries. And then there are several approaches here where I would say, if you wanted to, if you think that you have enough firepower down here that you can take things out with 2 units, then you can create a plug point here to make sure the boss does not get anything past here, and another plug point here, if you can then provide that DPS, the support, to block the healers. The healers do some damage, so make sure that you do have some way to make sure that whoever you use to block can heal and is supported enough for that unit to then do the damage that it needs to do to get that shaman. So that's exactly what I would do if that was the case in terms of you planning out. A little bit different from what I decided to do in this run because of the roster that I used. Okay, folks, so this is the roster that I used. Primarily epics. I did bring Callista and Volca in. These are heroes that, you know, we're able to get. Whether in some of the newer accounts may not have Callista, but I would imagine that they probably have a fighter that can easily take their place, essentially. So I'm using these two primarily because they deal physical damage and they're also able to target multiple units at once. That's essentially what I'm getting out of them here. And of course, Volca here is also providing us lower redeployment costs, just in case I need to cycle units out. Now, save yourselves some headache and use whatever legendaries that you have. This is just a demonstration of what is actually capable to do at this ladder, okay? As long, at least from this stage, at least through 15 on, is all gonna be also on gear, right? You're not gonna be able to clear this out with purple, yellow, and maybe T1 sets. There are little, once you start clicking on the conditions to 3-star it, these monsters are gonna get a lot of health and they're gaining more defense and they're tougher to bring down. So in some situations, yes, you're going to have to utilize T2 sets. Some of these epics have T2 sets. But at least I showed you that you can kind of clear it with a roster like this, which is not, you know, so overwhelming, is in a sense, right? And at the same time, I didn't want to rely too much on somebody like Gardia or Sun Khan or Kigiri, right? Because a lot of this stuff is easy to rely on them for it. Now, for this demonstration, what I just want you to look at is look at how the waves come out, and then you put your roster together and try to figure out how you're going to then deal with each one of these spawn points and how you're going to plug things according in the map. So here's the start. And so like I was telling you, I'm just going to introduce how everything is going to lay out, and then I'm going to let the run go run. I'll show you the builds at the end, but essentially what's going to happen is going to have to deal with all of this that is coming out here. It's going to be 3 different waves, and then we'll have the healers coming from here. We're going to have the boss come here, and she's already coming out. So my goal here in this first stage here is to eliminate these fellows before they get healed. That's the key. That's what you want to pinpoint and you want to try to do, all right? And then we're going to retreat everybody back. But you can see here, Callista's already getting overcome by the poisons a little bit. I'm trying to hold off. I'm bringing in the healer. Okay, so here I'm trying to do enough damage as it is. And now I'm going to start retreating back. So let's plug the point here. And now let's start doing some damage with Iona. So yeah, so we're going to get a lot of healing here. And so you can kind of get a sense of how that is playing out. So here we go. Now they're away from that healing bubble. So now greed is going to deal with everything else. But at the same time, I kind of already had the idea here where this is the point where I was going to have Volca do what I need her to do, right? So she's going to be able to take care of these lizards or these monsters that have a lot of magic resistance to them. Fairly easy. So there we go. And now I'm just trying to deal with all of this, but at the same time they're getting healed over time, so it's going to be difficult to bring them down, but Iona is going to do a good job on it. Now the thing with the shaman here is it does deal a lot of damage. So like I said, if you do decide to block him here, make sure that you give him enough support, right, that they can contend with the shaman. And the other alternative here that I was thinking about after I did this run is that if you want to, you can block the boss up here if you have enough units and if you've built enough cost for this to occur. All right. So then all you're going to see me do here at the end is try to deal with everything that comes here, try to separate him from the healing nexus, and just try to have Volca and Callista do whatever they needed to do to make sure that none of them got past the core here. So that's kind of the strategy they use. So that's my advice. Get an understanding of how the waves are coming out and the different methodology that you can possibly apply with the roster that you have. Okay, so this was a very basic roster, so the run was a little bit harder than it needed to be, but of course legendaries make things a little bit easier, so that would be my suggestion if you do have them. At the same time here, I actually left this as it is because I just wanted to also have you see how much healing there is going on here, especially when the boss is throwing those healing balls, and we have the shamans coming out and try to heal everybody else as well. So that's pretty much how this stage goes. So be ready for it. If you have your anti-healers, use them. I do think the Lassier might have a play here with the Sand Erosion and his anti-healing. If you want to try that, if you have him in your roster and you want to give him a world and you have his artifact, you can try that as well. So there's definitely, the possibilities are many, but as you can see here, you can do it with a very, very minute roster as long as you have the gear. All right. I will leave you all there. So again, I'm going to let this thing run, finish off, and then at the end is going to be the hero builds, just so you get a kind of an understanding of how I needed to gear all these heroes to be able to combat all of this. All right. And this is a 3-star condition. Okay. 1-star, things are going to be a little bit easier. But once you start adding the conditions to get it to 3 stars and maximize the rewards, things are going to be a little bit tougher. Thank you all very much for tuning in and watching. I will see you all in the next Watch Our Realms video. And do remember to hit like and subscribe on your way out.
5 minutes later.